Hey guys, and welcome to a new video. Today is the Forbidden Sanctum release. It's Friday, it's the league start day. It's going to be 8 p.m. my time, wherever it is on your place. It might be differ, but in around about 6.5 hours, we're going to be going into the new league, and I'm looking very forward to it. It's going to be hopefully amazing, and yeah, big copium, man. This is it. I hope 320 is gonna be a blast. And today I usually would start with like a video like, oh, today's league start, what things I'm going to do and blah, 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 you know. But these videos don't really have a lot of impact. It's just like me saying like, yo, I'm maybe going to go to Blood Aqueduct and then go to bed. That's it, right? But this time around, my moderator and admin, Sehundi, did actually go through the last couple of videos covering the EK Ignite, the Wave for Conviction and stuff, and wrote down a bunch of questions that you guys had about the build. So I'm going to do another round of like FAQ kind of style and trying to answer all of them to give a bit more clearance, if that is a word, in this entire thing. And I would say we're gonna start right away, but first, actually, let me quickly point out this couple few things. My stream is probably gonna get live or go live like probably an hour or maybe 2 hours before. So I would say in round about like 4 hours, 4.5 hours, I'm gonna be live. We're gonna check out the new Atlas passive tree once it's live. We're gonna give more questions and answers kind of style on the stream. And if you want to, yeah, check by, say hi, and toggle along, follow on league start and stuff like that. And yeah, I would say let's get into the FAQ portion of this video. So there is a bunch of questions and I'm trying to go over them and just without preparation trying to just answer them out of my stomach. So first question is a conversion question. Is 100% conversion always needed? Like, is 100% cold conversion only 10% better than 90% cold conversion, or is it there a mechanic which only truly works with 100% conversion? No, not really. I would say the more the better. Our goal is to get 100% through sources of a Watcher's Eye, the Cold Mastery, and some glove stats or affixes basically that also have conversion. I think it's like Veiled Modifier, could be an implicit and stuff like that. But we want to get 100%. Why is that? This is a multi-conversion build, and we are going to have items like the Gloomfang or the Ethereal Promise that say like elemental damage, or you get chaos damage. Wait. You get extra chaos damage from your elemental damage kind of thing is, right? So what does that mean? Every time we go into a conversion node, or converting from one element into the other, or starting from the physical into an element, because physical is no element, obviously, we're gonna get a chunk of extra damage, right? The Gloomfang does that, as well as the Ethereal Promise and other sources. So what that means is we're gonna start, we have a physical based spell, which is EK. It's 100% physical, right? There are nodes that we're gonna have with like physical is extra cold, physical is extra fire, physical is extra chaos, and with the Shaper of Flames Ascendancy node, we're gonna have all of our damage combined be able to ignite. This is very strong because we're gonna get these extra portions. So the way that like ally damage is extra chaos, for example, works, we're gonna convert into cold damage, we get a chunk of extra cold chaos damage, for example, right? Then we have the cold to fire support, we're gonna convert into fire and then get another portion of extra damage. So basically, I would say, is it true that 90% conversion is like a 10% overall damage loss? Maybe it is. I haven't done the math, but in the end of the day, we want to convert 100% into elemental to then have like, for example, we start with physical, right? We have like auras like Herald of Purity that gives us more physical damage. Then we're going to convert all of that damage 100% if possible into cold. Then we're gonna have like Hatred that gives us more cold damage, and all of our sources of fizz is extra cold. And then we're gonna have the conversion into fire. So the more fizz we have, the more cold we're gonna have. The more cold we have, then based on like Hatred and other sources, we're gonna have even more cold damage. And then we're gonna convert all of that into fire, or at least like a portion, like 60 or 70% of that into fire damage. And then also benefiting from other sources like Herald of Ash or other auras or items to give us even more damage. And then all of that thing is going to get like extra damage from like Gloomfang or Ethereal Promise or the other sources that we have that are working with these like conversion extra thingies going. So essentially, I would say the more the better, okay? Rimsaro gloves will give us 100% conversion, but these gloves are garbage, okay? They are actually trash, but we want to have the conversion, because the next step, as I explained before, like with watches and all these kind of things, they are just pricey. This could be the transition from like Rimsaro to the other sources would be like, can be 10 divines, could be 20 divines, you know, but we have to start from somewhere, and that's why the Rimsaro gloves are good in that place. But for endgame, they're just trash. Conversion question: why fizz to cold when you have Rimsaro? I think this is something that I had in my PoB on like the league starter thingy. Let me quickly check. League start, here we go. I think I put in here the mastery even though I had Rimsaro glove. So this is obviously not the case. As long as we're having the Rimsaro glove, we are not going to use that, right? Because you cannot get more than 100% conversion. Let's assume we have 200% conversion from fizz to cold and 100% fizz to fire, then it's still going to be the aspect ratio of 66% cold and 33 fire, because you have to think like everything that goes above 100 will be squished down to 100%, okay? So 100% is 100%, everything above that is useless, so you're totally correct. If you have the Rimsaro gloves with 100% conversion, we do not need this mastery over here with the fizz to cold conversion. May I ask why you convert fizz to cold, then cold to fire, but not direct from fizz to fire, please? And this is basically what I explained above here. We're going to have a portion of cold damage, we're going to get the extra chaos damage from our cold, then we're going to convert it to fire, get the extra chaos damage from our fire portion, and so on. So that's why we want to go into multi-conversion, because Ali's extra chaos does always mean all of our lightning damage, all of our cold damage, all of our fire damage, because this is our elemental damage. And one thing that I want to mention here, we could actually go even further, play our EK with physical to lightning support, get physical to lightning conversion on our gloves, for example, and we would actually benefit from the lightning damage as well before we would need to use 2 Call of the Brotherhoods to convert all that lightning damage into cold and then cold to fire into fire, right? But why don't we do that is just simply because we need a source of the extra curse, for example, of flammability on hit ring, as well as the other ring that I have in my endgame PoB from the first one, from the Black Star dude, right? Forgot the name of it. The Polaric Devastation ring is just so much damage, okay? Discover enemies in Ash. I think monsters take like 20% increased fire damage. This is an absolute more multiplier. It's on the enemy side. They take 20% more after all of our conversion and whatnot. And this is just so much better than actually having the physical to lightning. So yeah, we skip an entire elemental base type basically, but we're opening up 2 ring slots with an extra curse and the Polaric Devastation, which is in the end more damage. What would be the last lab points? Bastion of Element? Well, no, actually we want to go with the Shaper of Flames for the extra shock. We are Elementalist, and actually the large cluster jewels that have the Sadist node increased ally damage if you have chilled, ignited, and shocked recently, right? We're gonna have some form of chill because we're not going to have 100% cold to fire conversion, right? We're going to have our ignites, obviously we're an ignite build, and we're also going to have our shocks because we run Shaper of Storm. So we're going to have all 3 ailments basically. So Sadist is going to be the perfect or the strongest large cluster. I even once made a 1 voice passive with like a triple medium cluster and stuff like that. It was actually less damage than going Sadist with Prismatic Heart, for example, right? So this is actually very, very important. And you could substitute a little bit, like Shaper of Storms is just so much damage, okay? They increase the shock effect also counts for Ignite because the monster is just taking more damage. We even going to go further and go for masteries. I don't know where I put this Ellie mastery basically, where we're gonna have 40% increased effect of elemental ailments over here that will affect our chills as well as our shocks, making our ignites deal even more damage. Technically, if you want to go like Atziri farming or something, you could get out of this and just take Bastion of Elements for the Reflect immunity, but overall, this is going to be your main setup. You could technically go Shaper of Winter for a better chill effect, but since we're already chilling the bosses, yeah, and all the other monsters because we're not 100% converting, this just doesn't make too much sense, and Shaper of Storms is just the best damage output, basically. When will we see this on Maxroll? The content is already live. It is already posted a video about that one yesterday. So if you go to Maxroll in PoE, you go to build guides, and then you can choose here the endgame guides. And here we have the EK Ignite and the Omniscience Tornado Shot from Crouching Tuna. And here you have the entire guide. So yeah, it is public, it is now available, but this is for endgame. Let me tell you that it is an endgame build, so it also has like a headhunter, for example, in the showcases, the way I played it in the end, because I think every time you go into endgame, this could be 100 divides, this could be 25 mirrors, whatever, right? Endgame is always like a very flexible, word. So, how about Double the Princess? This is something I looked up already, so if I find it. So, the Princess is a sword that gives you 25 to 30% physics extra cold damage. Yes, it would work. It would also work for Wave of Conviction because it is a physical spell. It also works for EK, but it doesn't do anything else. I would more see this one on a character with like Frost Blades, because we don't get anything of the increased phys damage because it applies to the main damage from the weapon, the added physical, the attack speed, increased damage taken from skeleton and ghosts. I don't know. So the only thing that would be a thing is this one. But a normal wand, for example, with +1 to physical spells, fire.multi, crafted, fire damage, anything like that, will actually be most likely gonna be more damage. And on top of that, you're not gonna get the princess for free, right? I would assume Frostblade characters would maybe play that, or other builds. So instead of like spending a 2-3 chaos for a princess, I would rather just save the currency and prepare to buy an obliteration that we can then use at like level 52 or something. So, I mean, if you want to, you can use it as a stat stick, but I think any wand or a scepter or anything with L damage will get you going just fine. Does anyone know if this build is capable of doing wave 18 to 20 simulacrum with low investment on EK? This is a question that I just cannot answer because I've never tried a simulacrum on low investment. All I know is you're just gonna pop it in and you see how it's going. As long as you're res cap, as long as you have like determination, if you're ailment immune and you have like decent clear with a fan of flames or ignite proliferation, those kind of things, you should be fine / you could be fine. This is like a scalable thing, right? And Simulacrum goes to wave 30 since the buffs a couple leaks ago. So yeah, there are farming strategies where you could just farm until like wave 20 or 21, and then just as soon as you cannot do it anymore, you just leave and pop in the next Simulacrum and you're still gonna profit, right? But this is just something you need to test. I think if you think like, hey, I think my character is stable now, I have all my check marks on the defenses, I do have some good damage output, I do have a form of explosion with the obliteration to lure Cosis or Omniphobia into mob packs, explode them, and then have the explode inflicting a very big ignite onto these bosses, you should be fine on doing the early Cosis and Omniphobia, but you're saying low investment. So, you know, if you're lucky and you're lucky with the mods, you could go up to like 23, 24 as well, right? And if you're having very bad mods, then you could be stuck on wave 20 as well. I think like just try it out. Once you say like, I think I can do it, just pop one in and see how far it goes, right? Item question: when do we change from Wave of Conviction to EK and from wand to bow? So basically, I'm just gonna go EK as early as possible just to see how it works. If it sucks, what could be, then I'm just gonna swap out the gems and stay with Wave of Conviction until I gather the next item, for example, a Gloomfang amulet or the other ring, or, you know, I'm just gonna buy items and just swap out the gems because the skill tree is gonna be the same. Maybe like 1 or 2 respec points, and then it's just like a gem swap to just test, okay, is EK fine now? Is Wave of Conviction still better? Let's stay Wave of Conviction. Is EK same or better or faster or feels better? I'm gonna stay EK, right? And one from a wand to a bow. So basically the way I see it, I'm gonna get the obliteration once as early as possible for the enhanced clearing, for the explosions and stuff, right? And honestly, I don't even plan to take a medium budget explosion bow or anything like that. I mean, they're not gonna be expensive by any means, right? But honestly, I think I'm gonna take obliterations, maybe even a double obliteration, I don't know yet. And then I'm just gonna farm up currency until I can afford a bow. So I don't say it's a point of view where you say like, when should you take a bow? It's more like, when can you afford the bow? Because they could be somewhere between 50 divines, it could also be over 200 divines or even more like that, you know? So it's a currency question, not like a question if you want to switch, because the bow as having a second 6-link for your auras is just straight up better, and it's a physical explosion base, what we scale anyway, so even the physical explosion will be converted with our conversion nodes. We're gonna get the alias, extra chaos and stuff like that, and the wand, the obliteration, for example, they have chaos explosion, so there is no conversion, it's just pure chaos damage, right? And there might also be the question later on or now, yo, what about an Explo sword, or what about an Explo thing like that, you know? I mean, if you want to, feel free to do it. I tested on my character with obliteration, and I didn't really feel a lot of difference besides the missing aura, so that's why I say I think I'm gonna stay obliteration until endgame, and once I have enough currency to buy a bow, I'm gonna swap to that. Why is conversion in every build an insane damage boost? Someone answered this, but I find this interesting. Okay, that's actually great. Non-chaos is extra, chaos applies to every step. This is where the insane scaling comes from. Consider your example and add Gloomfang, which gives 30% of non-chaos damage as extra chaos damage. Yeah, this is basically what I mean. So if we're gonna start out with like 1,000 physical damage, and we convert that into 100% to cold, we're gonna have 1,000 cold damage, right? So that wouldn't make sense in that case, because if we then use cold to fire, we're gonna have like, I think 60%, so we're gonna convert 600 fire damage. So this is like, the damage output on this stage is the same, but this like, non-chaos is extra chaos. This applies to fist, this applies to cold, this applies to fire. So we're gonna get 30%, like 300, let's say plus 300 extra chaos from this step. Then we convert, then we're gonna get another 300 extra chaos from our cold damage. And we're gonna convert into fire, and then it's also gonna be a 30%. This is like, I don't know, like, screw math. Yeah, it's a couple bit of damage, but every time we're gonna convert, we're gonna get extra damage, extra damage, extra damage, and this is why conversion is so good. If you wouldn't have any sources of alias extra chaos, non-chaos damages, extra chaos damage and stuff, then it would kind of be useless, but you're still gonna have the auras like hatred that gives you more cold damage. So if you convert 100% of our fist damage into cold, and then we're gonna get 30% more cold damage, we're obviously gonna have more damage in the greater good at the end of the day. Is this solo self-fund viable? I personally think it is, but as I said, Wave of Conviction is a budget league starter. It is a good league starter. It's not the best league starter, but it is a good league starter, and you don't really need anything to get it going. So in the terms of solo self-found, start Wave of Conviction, try to get your items like Crimson Gloves and the Gloomfang Amulet and the ring from the Black Star and blah blah blah, you know, and then you just can give it a go. As I said before, swap out the gems, maybe 1 or 2 points adjustments in your tree, and you're good to go and test it. And if it feels bad, then just go back to with conviction and keep on farming and getting better items. Build question, no purity of elements. I don't think purity of elements is necessary. I think it's very good in the start of the league, so maybe you go with a determination, purity of elements, and Herald of Ash as your first 3 hours once you get like 1 or 2 points into mana reservation efficiency, because you're gonna get free ailment avoidance. But in the end stage, you don't want to waste a 50% mana reservation aura if you could run Malevolence instead, if you can run Hatred instead, or Grace, or anything that is just more impact. Because you should be able to get res capped without a purity of elements, so you would use it just for the sake of ailment avoidance. And with like Essence Crafted boots, with the implicit or the new jewels, we shouldn't have a big problem getting ailment avoidance as well. So it's just like a bad aura, it's just way too expensive if we can get it otherwise, and then swap in a hatred for some extra juice damage, and this is just gonna be a lot better overall. Build question. Would it be possible to get a setup for the exploded bow for a shoot for the dream setup? Would it be possible to get a setup for the exploded bow for a shoot for the dream setup? I don't really understand this kind of questions, if I'm honest, because my endgame PoBs, they have an exploded bow and the quiver, so if you need like gearing advice on how to craft it, it's just like super easy essence craft until you hit the dot multi, and then you have like, I think you multi-mod with like cannot roll attack modifiers and cannot roll caster modifiers, then you Exalt Slam, you get the +1 for free, then you remove the craft, put in the crafts again, +2 level of Socket support gems, and Fizz's extra chaos, and you're done. You have your perfect bow. I don't think it's even, I don't know if you can even make this one better. I'm honest, because the cast speed is like so much quality of life. And I mean, there might be ways, but with the missing crafts of like prefix cannot be changed and suffix cannot be changed, those kind of things, it's gonna be very hard anyway. So the bow thing is really the bow is so expensive, like could be 150 divines or more, but crafting the bow is probably gonna be less than 10 divines overall with essence crafting. Build question: do you think the new Nimbus ring will overtake one of the ring slots, or is it that less so it doesn't focus on spreading the ignites? I checked the ring. Let me quickly actually pull it up. The Nimbus ring PoE. I think it was like projectile is gonna return or something like that. So this is the ring here. We have lightning res, dex. Dex is really nice. Projectile damage doesn't do anything for us. Projectiles return to you at the end of the flight. Projectiles are fired in random locations. So you don't need anything of that, okay? I would say this is something like maybe a Venom Gyre thingy or Winter Orb maybe, or anything like that, you know? But for EK, we hit the target, we ignite Prolif, everything explodes, beautiful, you know? None of this is actually good, and definitely not better than anything where you could say, yo, we're gonna lack flammability, we're gonna lack our cover enemies in Ash and stuff like that. So no, this is not a ring for this build. Build question: I don't understand how spell damage doesn't help your ignite DPS. Ignites deal 90% of the hit damage per second for 4 seconds. If we increase my hit damage by taking increased spell damage, how does this not also increase my ignite DPS? This is like I think some coding thingy. For example, easiest way to figure out is you go into your config, and then you have here custom modifiers, right? And if I do here 100% increased spell damage, you're gonna see that our average hit is going up. I'm also just gonna delete it and put it in, right? So you see the difference. So we have 478 to 551. So the hit is actually applying, like it's doing more damage, right? But as you see, ignite DPS is here a 15 mil straight. I remove this, it's still the exact same number. The reason for that is the steps of what is getting applied for ailments and what not, for example. I had this struggle a lot when I was playing like a couple, like 10, 15 weeks ago, when I was still like a bleed maniac with like Slayer, Cyclone and stuff, right? And I was always like, bro, why does increased attack damage, attack physical damage, not increase my bleed damage? I had the same question. I was like, yo, if my initial hit is higher, then why is it not affecting a higher bleed? It just doesn't make sense. It's like bullshit, right? But this is just like, you have to think like base damage, and there is some modifiers, and then there is a cut. And this, everything before that, is your base ignite damage. Everything afterwards, like an increased spell damage, increased attack damage, increased damage with swords, I think, and then all these kind of things, you know, they are not going to affect your ignite or your bleed in that case, okay? It's just the way it is. So you have like your damage. I don't know exactly what counts in before. I think everything that's like global damage does count in. Everything specific like spell damage or those kind of things just do not count in. So it's just the way it is. I don't know, but this is the way it works. So F.A.Q. Oh wait, this is like from the next video. Guide hint: this is a great Maxroll guide, but I think you're missing a good mandatory cluster jewel notes under the gear progression tab. You don't say what impossible escape and amulet anoint to use. Also under skill gems and passive tree, you are using the virgin call to fire support in the image instead, anomalous call to fire support like it says it in the text. Okay, this is a very, very fair point. I do pretty much think that I noted the cluster jewels, and if it's not the case, I'm gonna directly, let's say, EK Ignite under jewels. We have the brutal restraint, we have rare jewels, and we have the watcher's eye. So you're absolutely correct. I'm just gonna, like, after this video, gonna add this because I simply probably just forgot. Important things here: fan the flames. Obviously, you want to have this. Brush with death is, for example, very, very good for the recovery for mapping. Then we have fan the flames for the ignite spread. This could also be an ignite proliferation support gems, but in the greater good, if you get the fan the flames, the ignite prolif on your cluster jewels, you're gonna add a stronger support gem like an empower in the later cases. Purposeful Harbinger for aura effect, as well as lasting impressions, because it is a Herald medium cluster, and you want to have 2 times Purposeful Harbinger and the lasting impressions for the increased damage. And then I think that's pretty much it. There are other notes as well, like Wasting Affliction, I think like Cooked Alive or something, Blowback, and there's a bunch of things that you can use, but I think like Wasting Affliction with the Ignite Steal damage faster might be the best, but let me add that afterwards, and then you should have the full list over here. And this with the Anomalous Call to Fire, This is a bug that I already reported, which is basically in the skill gem progression. Basically, you have here the anomalous cultivar, but the tooltip still says cultivar. As I said, is a bug that is currently getting fixed because the link is correct, but the tooltip is not. Good, next one. Beautiful guide, but one thing that I'd like to see is which map mods the build cannot run, have difficulty in running, and if possible, how can we make it so it can run them if possible? This is something I don't understand because as far as I know, there is a list of map modifiers in the guide that you should avoid or if needed, basically, right? Map modifiers. The following map modifiers are impossible to run, which is Monster Reflect, countered by Bastion of Elements, and these one are just annoying and could be or should be avoided, just because if a monster has 90% chance to avoid elemental ailments, and you're like, every EK has only a 10% chance to ignite, so you have to like blast out the EKs, EK, oh, now I got an ignite, now stuff explodes, now stuff is dying because our EK on hit damage is just not hard. So it is under map modifiers in the second portion in build info and scaling. Then, build question, we don't play with Ignite proliferation support. Yeah, I pretty much just answered this one with the cluster jewel here with Fan the Flames. This is just a better choice, so we have another support gem. Even though Ignite proliferation is actually a pretty decent support gem, but it's not the best, and we have better options. So that's why we're gonna get the Ignite proliferation on the cluster jewel. But obviously, if you do not have the medium cluster jewel with Ignite proliferation, we do take the support gem, okay? This is, yeah, you want to have the Ignite proliferation in that case. But we want to swap it out later on. PSA for everyone running combustion in their builds. If a combustion gem is not linked to the skill that has inflicted the current highest damage Ignite, you do not get the benefit of the rest reduction. Also, flame search and combustion don't work together. It's a bug in PoB. This is a fair enough thing. I am not 100% sure, okay? There has been a discussion on the Reddit, I think, that, you know, that it works this way that I have it. For example, you have like a Hydrosphere with combustion, but then other people say you only have one Ignite, so either your combustion support is linked to EK, and it works, or if you have like an EK Ignite on the target, which is obviously a lot more damage than the Hydrosphere Ignite, that also means that your Hydrosphere Ignite is just going to get discarded because there is only one Ignite on the target, and that's EK, so there is no combustion. I would say this is a fair take. This, I am not sure if this is 100% confirmed. It's, you know, it's sometimes about wording, it's sometimes about like whatever. I personally think, based on that information that I got from Reddit in the past days and from other creators, because if I ask 5 content creators or build creators, 3 say it works, 2 say it doesn't work, so it's always a big question mark. But I think there has been a confirmation from a GGG dev or somebody that works for GGG that said it only counts for the highest Ignite, and that would be EK. So if that is the case, then we obviously gonna see if it's worth to swap in a combustion support in our EK setup, if it's going to be more damage than like an unbound ailment or an awakened burning damage, and if so, then it's going to get updated in 3.20 as soon as we're gonna figure out and see if it's better or not. Is it Headhunter necessary to function in endgame? No. Headhunter, Mageblood, and any other item that I like to use for mapping, for bossing, for whatever mapping is not necessary. My builds in general, they always work without a Headhunter, fully functional, but I see the way like, hey, if I steal a buff and it makes my character better, that's awesome. Does my build work without it? Of course, 100%. I even do Uber bosses with Headhunter and it's completely useless, basically, right? It's just like a mapping modifier, more or less, same as an inspired learning, for example. If you steal something, great. If you don't steal something, you're still fine. Byte question. Is this like a build guide? Byte. Your Maxroll guide mentions starting off with following the wave conviction guide, but I do not see a wave conviction guide anywhere on the site. Is it part of the Maw of the Mischief one? Yeah, this is because it was planned. I think there was like the red disclaimer over here, right? The wave conviction ignite elementalist, and it is linked to the Maw of Mischief because we have league starters and we have endgame guides, right? And the league starters, like the Maw of Mischief over here, they do have dedicated leveling sections from Killer. So if you go over here, it is an Ignite build, so it starts with Freezing Pulse with Arcane Surge early end, then you can scroll this one up here, and then we still gonna be Freezing Pulse with Frost Blink, whatever. Like Killer is a razor. I personally would still use Fireball, just because, hey, I'm an Ignite build, I want to have Ignites, right? But here you have like this leveling section. It goes over every single act here, Act 1, Act 2, what to pick up, blah, 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 you know, because all of the Ignite builds are usually the same. Rather, it's like Armageddon Brand Ignite, or is it like Cremation Archmage Ignite, or Wave of Conviction Ignite, Fireball Ignite. They usually are all Elementalists, or Witches in that case, and they usually follow all the same or similar ways of building your tree. There is just going to be some adjustments on your endgame. So in that case, we plan to have a Wave of Conviction Ignite guide by the start of 320. It was not enough time to put it out, but the Wave of Conviction guide has a dedicated leveling section because it is a League starter and not an endgame build, a fully endgame build. Doesn't mean it doesn't work in endgame. Maw of Mischief is actually insane, but this guide is like more well-rounded with the leveling section of Killer. So if you want to scroll along and check out all of these leveling aspects over here, then feel free to do so. Good, that is about it. I hope I could give you some better understanding of the builds. In that case, I hope I've done a halfway decent job. 6 hours, another 30 minutes gone from the day until the league starts. So that's why I'm like to do those videos, because I'm like, hey, if I do this video now, it's like half an hour, you know, gone and early until league start. And yeah, we're gonna see what I'm doing the rest of the day. Expect me to get online in around about 4 hours from now, and then we can talk about the build or the Atlas passives and all these kind of things on stream as well. Alright guys, thanks for tuning in, thanks for watching. I hope this was helpful, and see you in the next video.